From the highest mountains to the biggest ocean, this is a vast and varied land that extends from wintry wildernesses in its north to equatorial islands in its south. Within these extremes of geography and climate, an astounding array of animals and plants have evolved in a never-ending struggle for survival. Join us as we explore the wild wonders of the great land of China. In the middle of September, the autumn wind picks up. A cold current from Siberia lands on China's northern border. The change prompts hundreds of millions of birds to embark on their migrations south, launching themselves on their long journeys with no hesitation. Among these travelers are wild geese. Accompanied by the autumn wind, they set off along two routes, one from Inner Mongolia through China's Qinghai Tibet Plateau to India, and the other through northeast China and the Yellow River Basin to the southeastern coast. They ride the northwest monsoon all the way south to travel thousands of miles within 2 months. Flying at a speed of 70 to 90 kilometers per hour, the wild geese navigate through clouds and wind without fear. A strong, experienced male leads their formation, which is characterized by an equal distance between every two members. Flying in this way can dramatically reduce the energy they expend. Like an arrow piercing the chilly air, they continue to their destination without stopping. Mountains, lakes, forests, grasslands, and rivers. Across a varying range of landforms, they continue south, just as their ancestors have done for millions of years. From drought to torrential rain, in deficiency and abundance. A full spectrum of conditions exists simultaneously on this land, acting as drivers of diversity. China's extremes of geography and climate are the result of a massive collision that started 65 million years ago. This was when the Indian and Eurasian plates pushed into each other to create the highest yet youngest plateau on Earth, the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau. Though its air is 50% less rich in oxygen than the air enjoyed by those down on the plain, the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau is nevertheless still rich in biodiversity. With an average elevation of over 4,000 meters, it's home to 43% of China's land vertebrates, animals that create homes in the wilderness with fortitude and tenacity. This is the most beautiful season of the year. The greenness on the plateau will last for a month. Four newborn mannels emerge from their burrow. In and around the shelter made by their parents, the small wildcats can play freely. The days of carefree living are short. Solitary like most cat species, mannels leave their parents when they're 6 months old. They will roam until they find territory for themselves. An adult mannel's territory is typically 50 square kilometers in size. This one has his eye on a rocky beach at the edge of a river valley. A mannel needs at least 4 burrows to hide in within its territory. Now he's certainly looking for shelter. After finding some holes along the riverbank abandoned by foxes or marmots, he's happy to take one as a home. With plenty of rocks to hide among and pickers to prey on, this is definitely a mannel's ideal habitat. Secretive, mysterious, and elusive, the Manel is the camouflage master of the cat world. Cloaked in fur, coloured and mottled so that it's almost indistinguishable from the rocks it hides among, a Manel crouching stock still is almost invisible to the unaided human eye. More time, it seems, is needed for this young Manel to get the knack of hunting. But its cunning neighbour is waiting to take advantage. This fox sees an opportunity. The Manel attacks fiercely, but the fox is not giving up. With the fruit of his hunting snatched away, the Manel can only watch forlornly. Enough. Now it's time to look elsewhere. Later in the day, the young Manel smells another intruder, one of his own kind. He pretends not to see the interloper behind him. Is he about to give away his territory? Having yielded to others several times since leaving his parents, he decides to circle back and choose the right time to teach the invader a lesson. In no time at all, the intruding cat is fleeing. Like anyone protecting their home, the Manel is loath to yield even an inch of land. Its chances of getting enough to eat and finding a mate and rearing offspring depend on territory. So this time, it stood its ground. Advancing at a rate of 40 millimeters per year, the Earth's Indian tectonic plate continues to push the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau upwards. Life here will face an ever-changing future. As the wild geese fly across the plateau, they pass over countless glaciers. Numbering more than 40,000, the glaciers here are the source of many of China's rivers, which in turn support life. Spring has arrived. This Tibetan fox has become a mother for the first time. After 2 months of pregnancy, her cubs can grow up in the warmer weather. There are very few caves to shelter in on the plateau. The mother fox instead chooses a burrow to provide safety to her vulnerable young. They're not old or big enough to move far away from it yet. Instead of fighting or fleeing, the earth is still their means of protection. As with the young of most mammals, the cubs are intensely curious about the world. To them, every object is a toy. Even a piece of dried cow dung can become a source of fun. After 8 months, the cubs will live on their own. For now, however, they're completely dependent on their mother. As a green hand without any parenting experience, she's doing her best. With the cubs growing fast, she's under pressure to provide for them. They're big now and take a lot of feeding. Places of lower elevation are ideal for hunting, and soon she's homing in on her prey. The marmot, having spent the winter underground, is now at its weakest. This is it. Lunch for the kids. Only when she draws near to her quarry does she find that it's actually much bigger than she expected. Too big, in fact, to grapple with. The hunt has failed, and the mother must look for other prey. This time, she's going for a smaller target. Pikas are the most hunted animals on the plateau. While she's away, however, the mother fox is unaware that her cubs are being targeted by a predator. A wolf's sense of smell is 40 times more powerful than a human's. Nothing escapes its nose. The hungry wolf lurks at the mouth of the burrow, waiting for the cubs to relax their guard. The mother fox comes back with food just in time to see the crisis on her own doorstep. A big marmot was too much for her. Now she faces an enemy many times her size. There is no time to consider the disparity in strength. Her overwhelming priority is to protect her children. She does everything she can to draw the wolf away. After a long chase, she could give it the slip, and the cubs are safe. With most fox cubs not surviving until adulthood, nature on the plateau is cruel. Today, however, these two particular fox cubs will live on. Heading along another migration route takes flying geese over the vast forests of China's northeast. One-fifth of China's land area is covered by forests. Although quiet when seen from above, at ground level, they're bustling with life. The primitive forest of the Changbai Mountains is home to over 3,500 kinds of wild animals and plants. In unending competition with each other, plants and animals have developed various means of survival. Dandelions are common wildflowers that can grow under a wide range of conditions. It's almost true to say that where there is wind, there are dandelions. The seeds begin to germinate after lying dormant in the soil for a week. 1 to 2 months later, they will blossom into golden yellow flowers. After a year of repeated flowering, a single dandelion can scatter 800 seeds into the sky. Among them, only about 1 in 10 will end up germinating. While dandelions depend on soil to grow, a short period in their life cycle is actually spent in the air. From a microscopic perspective, the forest is a magical fairy tale kingdom. At night, the fairy tale begins anew. Slime molds are eukaryotes with no nerves or brains. In growing, however, they always find the best path to food. It happens very quietly and very fast. Underneath the decaying leaves that blanket the forest floor, something is moving. This unicorn beetle has lain dormant as a larva for a year. Now, it can't wait to get out. As the largest beetle in the forest, it looks like an armored warrior. Moving across obstacles is slow going. To find a mate, however, it has a quicker way of getting around. Adult unicorn beetles live for only 2 months. During this time, their sole mission is to pair up and pass on their genes. On the fertile soil of the forest floor, every living thing will find its own way. Along the Great Wall, the geese turn east, flying into the plain from the plateau. As the frequent subject of poetry and other literature, geese have remained a spiritual partner of the Chinese people for thousands of years. Every creature born on this planet comes with a purpose and has its own path to follow in the great living world. Kapok grows in moist conditions and is not resistant to cold. The presence of kapok along the geese's route signals they've now reached the warmer south. In South China's Guangxi, 60% of the land is covered by limestone peaks. Geologically, this terrain is known as karst. The towering peaks and dense rivers of the karst region divide the land into enclosed ecological islands. On these vertically raised islands lives the white-headed langur, a species that has a very small range in the world. Only about 1,000 white-headed langurs are now left in the wild. One way to recognize them is through their distinctive Mohican hairstyle. To survive, evolution has made them expert rock climbers. White-headed langurs live in polygamous families. Each family lives independently on its own karst hill. Foraging, drinking, and sleeping are all done here. As a species, they're living this way for almost 2.5 million years. It's a harsh environment, although it provides more than enough sustenance for them to multiply. This is a 1-month-old cub, covered with golden hair. Even at this young age, it's driven to develop its climbing ability. Unsurprisingly, the baby is the center of the family's attention. As the light fades, the scattered family members begin to return to their night quarters to protect themselves from predators. A recess in the cliff is extremely difficult for other animals to reach. The monkeys, however, take the vertical challenge in their stride. The infant is too young to climb itself. All it can do is hold on tight to its mother. Looking at the world from upside down like this is how it spends its earliest days. At around 2 months old, the color of the infant's hair starts to change. 6 months later, it's grown into a juvenile. With much of its waking hours spent practicing climbing, the youngster is now skilled enough to attempt the journey home on its own. Adult monkeys can jump further, so the route back for them is straightforward. The juvenile, however, must make the journey in a more roundabout way. At last, he has made it safely. The juvenile monkey's ability to make it back to the family's night quarters on its own signals it's come of age. While the monkeys are asleep, outside the night sky puts on a splendid show. From the estuary of the Yellow River to the Yangtze River Delta, the geese are arriving at their destination. In December, they finally touch down in the Yangqin wetland, Jiangsu province. Amid warmer temperatures, it's here that they will spend the winter. High above the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, the sky belongs to predatory birds. The Himalayan vulture, upland buzzard, golden eagle, and bearded vulture. Each one is a lord of the air. The sky may seem limitless when viewed from the ground, but for birds of prey, it's simply home. In the blue arena, there's always a life or death fight going on. This falcon is fighting an upland buzzard. Against an opponent twice its size, the falcon doesn't seem to have much of an advantage. Not far away on a cliff are her 3 young. The mother will never let this dangerous stranger anywhere near her children. A fight is imminent. The father, who's just returned to the nest, joins the fray. Falcons can dive at speeds of 100 meters per second. In this way, both mother and father launch a series of attacks. The upland buzzard is struck until it loses the ability to fly. Now the danger has receded. Having secured their safety, the parents can now return to their young. China is home to 75% of the world's falcon population. Living on the plateau, both mother and father falcons share the burden of parenting. Usually, the mother takes care of the nest and the father flies away to hunt. Returning with his catch, the father gives it to the mother on a platform separate from the nest, the equivalent of a kitchen. After simple processing, she will then take it to her young. As the 3 young grow bigger, the parents have to work constantly to satisfy their huge appetites. They're also constantly on guard, looking out for danger so that their children can enjoy a carefree childhood. After 5 weeks, the 3 young falcons gradually fledge. They've shed their infant feathers, although they're not quite ready to fly. Their parents keep a close eye on them from high above. They can now spread their wings and practice taking off and landing. The eldest of the 3 can now manage flight over short distances. Little by little, he's gaining the ability to take to the sky. At the end of the 8-week rearing period, the parents watch as their children take off and remain aloft. The great investment they've made is at last paying off. Now, the next generation are ready to go their own way and write their own stories between heaven and earth.